Hello! Hello, fellow travelers. Good morning, good day, good evening, good how the heck. Are you still awake? I am Zachary, your friendly waypoint in the Vale. Hello, London. Welcome. Hello, Yaoi Wizard. I see that you have found some throwing knives. Hello, Pixel. Good morning. I need to adjust this. Oh, that is... Okay. I do have my breakfast, so I may take some pauses to eat my breakfast and drink some coffee. Hello, Cheeky. Yes, if you're not aware, today has changed plans. Cheeky is still adapting to her new medication, which is doing good things, but is also doing has kind of affected her routine a little. But we should still be on for tomorrow morning. And then today I'm just going to chill. I'm going to do some more world building and just see how far I get before I need to log off myself. Because I got hit with some pain earlier while I was making my breakfast. I've taken some Tylenol and I'm hoping that'll clear it out, but get medicated in there. I love how that's the message that activates your chat walk on. There we go. Tylenol for me, ibuprofen for London. Oh, yeah, I bet. No, I hope you feel better. You deserve to feel good and not in pain and stuff. Alright, we'll dial that music back a little. I switched playlists for today. I usually can't hear the music very well while I'm doing the world building. I turn it down on my headset so that I could focus on thinking and talking at the same time, because I can't hear, think, and talk at the same time. That's one too many things for my little peanut brain to do all at once. But I figured that maybe, because this is like stream 5, I think, session 5 of this, I figured that maybe I should change up the music a little bit. So I threw on the playlist that I used during that Traveler stream. Yeah, I hope everybody who isn't feeling their best will be able to feel their best soon. Excuse me. I also gotta clear the morning out of my throat. Okay. I got distracted by a 1 on my Discord notifications. Alright, so let us rehash what I got done last night. Last night, I worked on elves. And then I could just read this out loud now. The elves were the first people created by the Dreamer and the first host. This is a huge point of pride to them, which they never let anyone forget. They were also originally very long-lived, having lifespans lasting up to 1,000 years. But the Dreamer and the First decided this was far too long. As a side note, which the elves themselves may not exactly be aware of, due to just things. Actually gonna lay back down. Yeah, you rest. Take it easy. My go-to method for dealing with any kind of like cramping pain or sicky vibes, it's just I sleep. I sleep it off. I'm like, what's that? I got a cold, time to sleep. What's that? I have a sinus cold, time to sleep. Okay. So yeah, correct. Oh, found a world that's mostly water. Oh, you got the Book of Tears again. But hey, maybe this book is the reason why the world is covered in water. Yeah, since it's only been like what 12 hours or so, obviously I have not expanded the list yet, but I will work on that. I did adjust the cooldown period, so now you have to wait 5 minutes to redeem, and you do have a limit of 3 per stream. But yeah, eventually that'll get changed and you'll have to redeem them a different way, but I got to work out more things for that. In the meantime, corrective measures. The Dreamer and the First observed the first elves with great interest as the fledgling mortals created large civilizations and flourished. However, this quickly brought them to their own ruin, for such long lifespans led to an imbalance in power, steep class differences based on the age of their members, and staggering advancements in technology. When their hubris destroyed their civilization, the Dreamer and the First took the remainder of the elves and reduced their lifespans to the shorter average of 150 to 200 years. Compared to other peoples, their birth rates are also reduced, though not by much. And then for appearances, elves have pointed ears that vary in length and shape. They tend to have thin and silky hair types, but this has changed in time to have greater texture variety. Their builds are often very tall, the tallest of the peoples in the world, with an almost unnaturally slim build. You may occasionally see one with a wider set frame or a shorter height, but it is usually assumed that they are of mixed blood, even if they are full-blooded. So some of that elvish superiority, like, oh, you're pretty short, you must not be a full-blooded elf, even if you could trace your lineage back several generations. And then I whipped up a height comparison to kind of illustrate what I mean. So we have like a shorter human, 5'2", a taller human who is 6 feet tall, and then we got like a 7.5 foot tall elf. So that. And for orcs, for origin, after the elves, the god of the nature domain partnered with the Dreamer to create the orcs. Having learned from the experiences with the elves, they focused on environmental impacts and how to work with nature rather than against it. Therefore, orcs tended to match the area they were created and lived in, so they could blend in with their surroundings and become excellent hunters. Their lifespan is shorter than the elves, but longer than that of the humans. Because of the god of nature's hand in their creation, they typically serve the nature domain. Appearance. Skin tones vary in shades of red, green, and blue, based on the region they hail from. Those from desert or hot areas have red hues, while blue are from colder and mountainous regions. Those that have green shades of skin are from jungles or forested regions. Someone had a dalliance somewhere? Oh, well, that's what's assumed. But the reality is that, exceptions exist. And, sometimes you get a shorter elf. That's just what happened. Oh, no, you don't have to worry. If you think it's my fault, I didn't shut the thing. Oh, hello, Vice. Oh, Vice could actually seek magical artifacts. He can redeem stars to travel through a veil portal and potentially find something of magical nature. I didn't quite think about that, how fitting that would be. Excuse me. Yeah, so instead of tusks protruding from the lower jaw like you would like normally see in anime orcs and stuff like that, they have points of bone jutting from their jaws, cheeks, and brows. These points vary in number and length, but are typically no longer than 2 inches. These protrusions can be seen dotting the length of their nose, neck, and spine, down arms and legs, around the chest, etc. The configurations are very varied, so you could see a lot of different patterns. Orcs also have pointed ears, so they're not as long as elves' ears, and don't protrude as far out from the skull. Their heights average from 5'5" to 6'5". Excuse me. But it's not unusual to see one as tall as 7 feet. Similar to elves, while they are typically bulky in build, you may still see a slender and short orc from time to time. And then I quickly roughed out a sketch of what I meant about like the protrusions, because I was kind of thinking of like horned lizards. And I thought that would be pretty cool. And then I made like a little culture note to myself to kind of expand on later, where they are pretty decorative in terms of culture. They like to wear decorations and accessories. They like body modifications like piercings and tattoos. And then I made a note to self that these are decorations for aesthetics and beauty, not necessarily for war, battle, intimidation. Because oftentimes you see orcs depicted as being kind of like barbaric or warlike and in nature and stuff. And I kind of wanted to lean away from the usual. Because if I'm going to have elves and orcs, I'm going to at least try to put a little spin on them. And thank you, Pixel. Thanks. Like, I wasn't seeking to reinvent the wheel or anything. But because I didn't really want to do like elves and orcs, but you do kind of see them in the isekai anime that are part of the inspiration touchstones. And I did hold a poll for subscribers in the subscriber channel on Discord, and people that wanted to see elves and orcs. Dwarves I might add at a later time as like an expansion or something. But, did that. And then for the elementals, oh no wait, the humans were next. So for the humans, the last group of people created jointly between the Dreamer and the First being the first host of gods, by the way. Well, my problem is when I think orcs, I think Lord of Warcraft. Yeah, or I think of like D&D where they got the tusk coming from the mouth, but other than that, they're usually just big green people. And they're like depicted as being kind of dumb or barbaric and stuff, and I'm just like, this is so tired. And here I wanted to make sure that if someone wanted to play like a fat elf, you know, someone who's on the plus size range, they could. And if they wanted to be a skinny orc, they could. Alright, so for humans, yeah, last group of people created jointly between the Dreamer and the First host of gods. Having created several groups of mortals with unique strengths, there was a question posed. What if there were mortals that didn't have anything special about them, and they were simply average? And so humans were created. However, it came to be seen eventually that humans did have one strength: their creativity, ingenuity, and stubbornness to do stupid things even if they knew it was stupid, because maybe, just maybe, it'd work out anyway. And then while not the shortest group of people, humans were certainly not the tallest. Their capacity for mana is, for the most part, average. Their appearances were similar to elves and orcs, but almost like a mixture. They came in a wide variety of builds and colors. with different types of hair textures, skin tones, and body proportions. Their lifespans were the shortest, averaging from 60 to eventually 120 with the help of technological and medical advancements, including that of magical. Their birth rate was fairly high, but their tendency to get into situations that prematurely ended their life was also high. There was a Tumblr post eons ago that I never forgot that had a great description of the strength of humans compared to like elves and dwarves and stuff. I wonder if I could find it again. Hmm. Is it this? No. Wait. Oh, wait. Okay, I think this is it. I swear I thought I had maybe saved it because I keep coming back to this post every few years. Okay, yeah, I think it's this post. All right. It's just a text post, so there's nothing really to see, so I'll just read it. And I'll link it too. So, a brief thought on humans as a fantasy RPG race. It's usually done so humans are presented as average. In my conception, humans are the daredevils. The one thing a human loves more than watching another human do something horribly unsafe is doing something unsafe themselves. It's said that the stout and serious dwarves invented the first staircase, but it was a human who came up with the idea of surfing down the staircase on an oaken shield. Elves have lived in the great home tree overlooking the Mother River for untold ages. It was a human who first had the idea to jump out of the tree and into the river. That's the other thing. Dwarves are stout and hardy, but like the stone they came from, once they break, they're broken. Humans recover impossibly fast by the standards of other races. They're also the first ones to get up after an explosion or cave-in with a cheerful, "I'm okay." They can't take as much as a dwarf, but nobody beats humans at getting back up again and again and again for more punishment. The hobbits appreciate human vigor, their good cheer, and certainly their lusty appetite for food and drink. But the utter glee with which humans will attempt to harm themselves or their fellows in a misguided attempt at fun is horrifying. Their rituals and celebration, they let themselves be charged by bulls, are seen as a testament to human ingenuity, creativity, and utter lack of good sense. The humans who are most highly regarded by their peers are those who excel at something. Dancing, throwing, singing, fighting. Humans love watching other humans be excellent at things, even something otherwise pointless and wasteful, like throwing knitting needles into melons. They are to a fault resilient. No elves would dare return to a failed settlement. The land is cursed and the dead walk there. Humans will rebuild the same castle over again with the same standing stones. And in TLDR, only humans would invent the X Games. Yeah, that post. Hello, Maho. Yeah, yeah, this has always kind of stuck out to me because I typically don't play human if I can help it. If you give me a chance to be, a cat boy or a bunny boy or something else, I will play that. But and usually not elves either. But I've always kind of thought of this post from time to time, where it does kind of give that little sense of pride of like, yeah, I'm a human, but you know, yes, I'd rather be an abomination of some kind. Well, guess what, Cheeky? In this world, you can be one of those eldritch-like beings that don't have a name yet. I should probably give them a name sometime. Oh, I basically just repeated it. Okay, and then so that is humans. I did start working on elementals, but I need a little sip of water. I'm gonna read this part out, and then after that, I'll have caught up on what I got done last night, and then I will probably pause for a moment so I can eat some of my breakfast. So, origin for elementals. Elementals weren't created. They appeared shortly after humans were made and in a mysterious fashion. To the gods, one day elementals were not there, and the next they were. The theory is that they were created from large patches of ambient mana, that they were mana given shape and form. However, it doesn't explain how they came to possess souls, and they perish like any other mortal. A little secret. Unbeknownst to the first, the dreamer had a little more fun before they awoke and began their journey. They were already enamored by the world they created with the first, adored it and loved it. They fashioned the elementals from magic, inspired by rivers, mountains, fires, and the winds. It was their last gift to the world before their dream ended. So the first host, don't even know where the elementals came from, but it's kind of like fourth wall meta. We will know that they came from the dreamer. Oh, was it close too much?
Yeah.
Aww. Cheeky had shut my door some for me, but little man with his little head and his very big body could not fit through it. couldn't figure out how to navigate the cracked door. Alright, and so with that, I've caught up on the work that I got done last night. I'm gonna pause for a moment and eat some of my breakfast. Okay. Sorry for the whole breakfast thing. I was trying to have my breakfast done before, but we wound up having a discussion on what to do with the stream, and that took some time. All right, so in terms of creation order, well, I guess I need to work. Oh, I never got the ass killer. I don't apologize for eating. I just realized I was gonna kind of ask Killer what because he was the one that voted for elementals, and I really liked the idea. And I was kind of wanting to know what he might have already had in mind in terms of what they looked like. But I could still, I can still wing it. But in terms of order of creation, I need to structure this list. Alright, so the elves were first. These will get replaced later. But the two animal-like races and orcs were created at the same time. And then came humans, elementals, and then after the dreamer had already awoken and the second host of gods were starting to form and come into creation and stuff like that, that is when the eldritch-like people were created. My cat is trying so hard to get second breakfast. There we go. Just so I can tick these off of which ones made. There we go. Cool. All right. Let me have a little more breakfast while I think about elemental appearances. Because I think I don't want them to be just like a vaguely human-shaped fire person. I want them to have tangible forms. I want them to be able to procreate. I want them to have like relatively mortal like lives. I don't want them to be beings of magic or something. I want them to be like tangible people. Yeah, Cheeky knows. Cheeky knows what's up. Oh my, that is an entrance. You could play that kind of person in this world. With tentacles. The eldritch-like beings. Who can also procreate, I'm just saying. Okay. So yeah, I want them to have tangible forms. Let's see. Hey, oh, what are you doing? Why are you being mischievous? What are you doing? Yeah, you come here. You're being goofy. You know you don't get lunch until 11. That's my cat. Excuse me. Okay, so let me show you what I don't want. Just throw these here. These are the elementals from Legends of Zakkariiart. Oh. And this is kind of what I don't want. They are not completely tangible, they are made up of their element. I want them to be more like a regular group of people. Let's see. Delete that. Oh, didn't see chat for a moment. Sorry about that. Dragons would make the perfect creatures to commit insurance fraud because they can polymorph and would be able to help adventurers fake their deaths to collect on the payout. Interesting. There's probably dragons in this world. Because I was considering maybe even playing Draconum in it. Instead of playing Draconum in the region that the game comes in. Excuse me. I do have a group of people who are basically dragon shifters, but they're in a different world for a set of novels I was writing. Eating some potato. Oh. Speaking of Draconum, though, they do have this group of people called the Adafane. I think that's what they're called. They're not elemental. But I could kind of be inspired by their appearance. Because they do have a really cool appearance. Let me throw that in here. So this is the Adafane. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. From Draconum. They were created out of, I think, obsidian stone or something like that by the gods. And initially were created to be kind of like servants of the gods, if I remember correctly. But they eventually decided to become mortal, and so they're just like a normal mortal group of people, but they have a lot of ties to divinity. And yeah, they got wings. I think the wings might be an optional trait. Kind of got like stone colored skin, some glowing markings, glowing hair and eyes. Kind of sim. I think they're kind of similar to what's the option in 5e in D&D where they're like basically like demigods or something. Yeah, I don't know if I don't think they went AWOL. I think they just simply decided to remain with mortals and the gods were cool with that. I don't know. I haven't read up on the new lore because the lore got a rewrite during the beta draft of Dracanum, and I'm out of touch in terms of Dracanum lore because I've been focused on Legends of Zakkariiart instead. But I'm thinking something similar to that, where their given element is very obvious, but they are not made up of strictly just their element. Delete that one. There's also have to be a fragment of the true form. Oh. Yeah, that would be more like the Eldritch people. The Eldritch people kind of tend to disguise their true forms with one that looks a little bit more normal. They kind of tend to look more like human-like, but are really they could be a shifting mass of tentacles with eyes or something. Still pretty fuckable though, just saying. That's because they were a mistake. They were not meant to be created, but two gods from the second host decided they wanted to be like the big kids and create their own group of mortals to lord over. And it kind of backfired. Let's see, I think I'm gonna switch. Alright, so I need to move this screen over here. Come down here. Need to open the canvas. Oh, that's not. That's what I drew yesterday. Okay. Eat a little more potato while I noodle out. Because I think I've gotten to the point where I need to actually just scribble. Move the microphone. Everybody is gonna kind of look kind of more human-like. I'm not gonna get like, aside from the animal-like people, they even they are going to be kind of more anthropomorphic and stuff. But that's just because my touchstones are JRPGs and isekai anime. And so you see a lot of like, oh, it's a beast person, and really it's just somebody with cat ears. I mean, I'm gonna do a little bit more than just simply slap cat ears on somebody, but we'll get to them later. Oh, I need to... Now the microphone is blocking chat. Alright, there we go. Now I can see chat. Alright, so if I'm working on a fire elemental, because I know the fire elemental is what Killer Flame it would lock on immediately. So if I'm thinking about what would Killer like to see, because the flame sprites that I designed for him are like actual flame sprites, but they can wear clothing and stuff, but they're not they're like little small cute characters, and that's not what I would want for this. Let me go pull up. I did 5 designs for him, but so these little guys. Oh yeah, just little cute little fire sprites. They have quote unquote hair. They can wear clothes. The clothes don't really catch on fire. Oh hey, thanks Cheeky. Yes, yeah, this was commissioned by Killer Flame. And I'm just thinking about like, how could I maybe incorporate a little bit of, you know, this into a full-sized kind of person. I think this group might be a little on the shorter side. Maybe they'll be the shortest group of people on average. And maybe they also are like the second longest lived. Like maybe they live just as long as elves do, because maybe even though they weren't necessarily created by mana and magic, maybe they still have like some tie to their vitality to ambient mana. So if you know, kind of like how they say in the like in Victorian era or whatever time, like, oh, if you're sick, go to the seaside or go to the countryside. The country air will do you good, and that kind of thing. Kind of that, but literally, like if a flame sprite was feeling kind of blah, though, they could go to a volcano and kind of, you know, absorb some of that ambient mana, and they'll feel a little better. And then, yeah, maybe that could present some challenges if they happened to live, you know, in a icy, colder region or something like that. But it's not impossible. There would be some workarounds, I think. Oh, you know what I should have done? Where's my handy dandy symmetry ruler? Alright, let's see. I think wind elementals could probably fly. I know mechanically people will struggle with flying because it can be pretty like OP in terms of movement. But I mean, come on now. It's fantasy. You should be able to fly if you want to fly. I think Dracanum handles flying pretty good. Legends of Zakkariiart doesn't have rules for character flight because you could play as a swoos, which is like a swan slash goose person, but there's no mention of them being able to fly. But in Dracanum, obviously we saw the Adafane. There's a couple of other flying kin that you can play as, and because that's a dragon bonding game, you can ride a dragon, you can fight on dragonback. There are rules for flight and flight combat. So maybe I'll include a note where, like, if your game system doesn't already have rules for flight, you can do this. And if I remember correctly, they just have light speed, which is similar to your walking speed. And then some fall damage, which is based on how many squares up did you fall from. So if I wanted to do a flame sprite, or not a flame sprite, but like a flame elemental. Excuse me. What am I thinking of? Maybe I should use a bigger brush, kind of focus on silhouettes. Flame hair is kind of cool, but like at the same time, that would be kind of limiting, I think. Because what if somebody wanted to have dreads as a fire elemental? What if somebody wanted to have dreads as a flame? Like, yeah, it could just be kind of like with the flame sprites. It could just look like hair, but it's fire, but it doesn't quite make sense. Like, this is like I'm making fantastical people and stuff, so like obviously it's not realistic, but I think that might be a little too out there, outside of plausibility for me. And hair can be pretty important to people. So I want to make sure that if someone picked, an elemental, that they could style the hair however they wanted. I'm gonna eat the rest of my breakfast, I think, while I think about this. I have an idea starting to form, particularly with these face markings here. And then what to do for hair? I was thinking, so they've got these markings kind of similar to the LFA, where this is where they're like, the elemental energy kind of leaks through their skin. Yeah, their skin. And when they get very excited or emotional, these lines kind of flare up. Like for here, on the face, if they were to like start crying, this merging would get greater. Where their eyes would be like pools of, like in the fire elemental's case, their eyes would kind of become like pools of molten liquid. So their tears could hurt. Though I don't know how that would work for wind and earth. So maybe it varies per elemental. And these like markings could change from person to person. There's no set design for every single fire elemental, I think. Also, I think this would lead to some very cool top scars too, if someone wanted to play a character with top surgery. I think that would be cool because you could do something like this. I think that would be really rad. I've seen some pretty cool stylized top surgery scars. Still doesn't. What do I do for hair? I just kind of make it normal hair and maybe the hair ends in flame? Or does it just simply look like flame or something? Because you wouldn't really want you wouldn't want hair made of flame, because how are you going to go to sleep? How are you going to be able to sit somewhere and not catch a nearby wall on fire, you know? Could have flame mixed in with real hair. Yeah. Because like as cool as it is to think about the realistic impact of such a thing, this is not that kind of world setting. we want the kind of more of a rule of cool. Enough plausibility. Natural body reflex. Your flame doesn't burn unless you want it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably have to roll with that if we wanted kind of like a flaming hair. Yeah, because if they are pretty tied to magic, like fire related mana, fire aspected mana, then it could be that, yeah, their fire in the hair and stuff is more magical. It's more of like uh capturing the essence of fire, but not actually being fire. So they capture the essence of fire as an element. Okay, yeah, yeah. Thanks, Pixel. I think that's kind of guiding me into a good direction. Now, if they get angry, let's see, we'll do something like that. Just like a normal hairstyle. Normal, man. A basic hairstyle or something. And then the hair ends in the flame. And then I can take this is a little sloppy, but maybe I'll do another sketch. The elementals would probably be a little bit more locked into color schemes. Like, you probably wouldn't be able to have green hair unless you were predominantly like a green flame of some kind, but that would be kind of unusual. But then again, there are certain elements that can make fire change colors. So you could still get some cool colors in. This one has more. Or maybe it could even change. be different. Like that. Yeah, kind of like that. Alright, yeah, now I'm feeling it. Okay, yeah, more like that, maybe. Oh, gotta love me some glow. Thanks. Yeah, I feel like this, at least right now, so far, this allows the amount of customization that I would want people to have. Thank you, Cheeky. Let's see, is this still usable? It is, good. Okay. Let me drag that back over. Going to do this. Alright, cool. Cool. Actually, let's go there. Alright, so that's a good way of doing the flame. And so I think the other elementals would probably have similar markings because they are like a same group of people. Wish I had long hair so I could pull off that look. Oh, the one with the shoulder length hair? Well, you know, buddy, you did make a purchase. Well, actually, no, you didn't make a purchase. I got you a Christmas present a few years ago. But yeah, you do have that thing. Yeah, You do. You could. We're talking about wigs. Buddy, when will you wear a wig? When will you wear a wig? You could wear a wig. Alright, so we got an example of a fire elemental. It's really funny because Chiki will introduce me to some of her like favorite memes and stuff. And I'm like, haha, yeah, that's pretty funny. And then I get to use them against her later on. And when she least expects it, it's usually quite funny. That one was pretty funny though. Gosh, now I feel like watching Lord of the Rings. Alright, so let's do the wind one, because I feel like the wind one is probably also going to be a little hard. Oh. Alright, there we go. So similarly, they will also have kind of like, you know, like the idea of ley lines across their body. But maybe their style of markings are different. These ones might be a little bit more curved or something. Maybe little offshoots. Like vines. Hmm? Wow, a really loud jet is flying overhead. That's a surprise. We usually do not get jets. I wonder if there's something going on for the 4th in one of the cities that we are adjacent to. It's like, we have an airport, but it's not, it's a small one, so we do not hear the likes of jets. It's kind of wild. Alright. There we go, put a little bit of glow on it. Alright, I think I need to take a little bit of a bathroom break. And I will be right back. Okay. Thank you for waiting. I have returned. Okay, let's see. Right. Nature people. Hooray. Cheeky is gonna come make me another cup of coffee for me. Thank you so much, Cheeky. I just need to put a little bit of lotion on my hands. And then I'll work out hair. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Cheeky's the bestest.
Stop.
The bestest.
No.
I love the Cheeky.
Ah.
I'm watching my cat follow her. It is fairly closer to his lunchtime though, so he can actually have lunch a little early. But he wanted it way too early. We gotta be like, no. Just because the old man gets fed 20 times a day does not mean you get fed 20 times a day. Alright, let's see. Where'd Clip Studio go? There it goes. Alright. Alright, so I do feel like the hair is probably going to work out a little better. And because obviously we could just, you know, entwine it with some foliage. They could have hair that flowers. You know, perhaps maybe as a little treat. Just as a little treat, and because there's been a lot of thinking about it mentions about it recently, perhaps they have. Perhaps somebody could have antlers if they wanted. Just as a little treat. Thanks. And then have hair. Oh, let me turn the tree off for this. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Did you feed little man?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I hear he's quiet now. He's no longer heartbroken, in distress. I drew that on the wrong layer, kinda, but it's okay. Hey. Oh, yay. Yeah, back on. Put that here. Oh, no. Yeah, because I did. Yeah, no, I pretty much did. I drew it on the wrong layer. But see, now I can't. Why did I do that to myself? Well, now I will live with my mistakes. I like how I made a point to remember to draw some ears this time, and then I'm like, let's have hair that covers the ears for this example. You know, some flowers, because that's a whole great thing about having a nature person like this, like a dryad or something. You can grow flowers. Grow your own flowers. And then perhaps when they get emotional, like if they, you know, have vines or something, they're the natural growths that they have going for them. The vines, their flowers, their leaves or something. You know, if they're very upset, perhaps those flowers die and fall off or something. And when they're happy, they blossom and bloom in like greater quantity. It's like super rough. I'm a little rusty. I haven't been drawing a lot lately. I've been doing brain work. Maybe some of them too, aside from like vines and stuff, maybe some of them kind of like have an herbaceous kind of aesthetic where, you know, like perhaps they grow lavender or rosemary or something like that rather than like flowers. Pretend these are braids. Ooh, maybe this guy kind of has like, kind of grows like wisteria or something. Cheeky loves wisteria. Let's see. Thinking of something darker, mossier. Wrong layer. Yeah. I know what Cheeky likes. In the end, you can't tell they're braids. Because I was silly. That's okay. Thanks. I can't wait to hear what Killer thinks about it. Alright, just hang on. I didn't forget the wisteria bit. I think the ones in the ponytail would be longer. Because they're less out of the way compared to the beard. Yeah! Woohoo! Let's see. Let me check my notes real quick. Okay, yeah. Cool. think I'll do the wind one next because I feel like the wind one might be a little challenging. Alright, so I had said that they could have wings, but I'm thinking, what if they're not like feathered wings, but more like let's see. Well, at first glance, it looks like they are feathered. Woohoo! But let's see, this might be. They kind of dissipate a little at the tips. And then perhaps, based on the person's personality, perhaps they have a little flavoring. Because it's implied that they fly with wings of like air rather than feathers. I think that would lend itself to some interesting designs, I think. They could have more like zigzagging patterns. For the way that you could see birds suddenly dip and weave in the sky. Or leaves tumbling about in the wind. And then similar to the flame, or the fire elementals, and their wings, perhaps their hair kind of fuzzes out, kind of like clouds. And then maybe too, perhaps they could have feathered ears. Yeah, you like this one? Woo. Try it again. Cool. Want to give a variety of different types of hair. Because, like, from here you can kind of work out how there's, like, almost like a formula, like a design formula. And I feel like this sort of creates kind of like a box, but it's not so tight of a box that your characters are all gonna look the same. I think there's enough variety here, or like potential for variety here, where you can have characters that look like all sorts of different types of people, but still follow like certain guidelines. Like they have these kind of like ley line markings. They their hair kind of resembles the element that they are, whether they're like wispy and stuff. And I would probably say that the wings on the wind elementals might be optional. Yeah, diversity. And then lastly, it's gonna be the water one. I figured the water one was probably gonna be easier. Some coffee. Oh, that's a good cup. Thanks, Cheeky. That one tastes really good. I'm gonna have made a damn good cup of coffee. Yeah, you sure did. I'll have to make sure to drink this one while it's still warm. Now this one kind of I'd seen a water themed VTuber recently, and I kind of liked how the hair was done. Cheeky got very excited. Yeah. Perhaps with this one, perhaps their hair color changes with their emotions. If it's based on the clarity of water. So like it gets darker when they're angry or upset, and then brighter and more translucent and sparkly when they're happy. And if they're upset, maybe their hair starts turning into foam at the ends. You would not be stinky swamp water, you stop. Oh, stretch time. Okay. Stretch. Oh. Okay. I'm stretching. Spine wiggle. Ooh. Coffee sipping. That's a wrist stretch. And then, of course, perhaps, depending on, like, if they feel sad, perhaps their hair starts dripping. And I would assume too that being water elemental, I'm assuming they would be able to breathe underwater. Because why not? Makes sense, yeah? Maybe I'll do a shorter hairstyle. Perhaps too, they could have frilled ears. Gotta get that mer-person quality to it. Yeah. There we go. I still can kind of get my merfolk in a way. Do not ask me how these people cut their hair. Don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Maybe their hair starts kind of moving and shifting in their emotions, like waves. Wind elementals probably also have like a constant shifting in their hair from like a breeze that no one else feels. Okay. Alright, with that, I am pretty satisfied, I think. I think too that if water elemental felt like it, they could perhaps also change the shape of their legs to be that of a tail of some kind. You know, kind of shift the water into a more natural swimming form. Thanks! It's not exactly what I thought I was gonna wind up doing for this stream, but works out in the end. Because I knew these were gonna be needing a little bit of thought. Thanks. Yay. Oh, cool. Let me... to obsidian. Had to do it sometime. Yeah, I mean, I knew I was gonna have to take a moment to try to figure out how to design them. But I didn't think it was gonna take, like, I didn't think I was gonna have to rely on actually doodling them. I thought I would be able to just work it out in my head. But that's okay, I mean, I was gonna wind up drawing these in a way, anyway. Oh, way. So, it was, yeah, like I said, would have done it eventually. And now to condense what I just did into some notes. Throw that down there. Okay. There are 4 types of elementals: fire, nature, air, and water. Each group shares a couple of similarities. Their skin tones are desaturated hues that relate to their element, and they have markings across their skin. For example, all elementals have at least one pair of markings that extend from their bottom eyelid downward across their cheeks, though the shape depends on what type of elemental they are, and the patterns differ from person to person. Identical twins may have the exact same markings, but generally, the patterns are unique to the individual. Fire elementals may have red-toned skin, nature green, and so on. Their eyes also lack pupils and irises like the other mortals, and glow softly to represent their connection to their element's ambient mana. Their hair also takes on their element's qualities. For example, an air elemental's hair may fade into foggy tendrils, or be puffy like a cloud. A water elemental's hair can change its shade of blue based on the person's emotions, being stormy dark when they're angry, or bright and sparkling when happy. Air elementals may often be spotted with wispy, cloud-like wings that can let them become airborne. Water elementals can breathe underwater and shift their lower body into a tail to swim with. Fire elementals can catch a blaze when their emotions run high, though their fire only burns if they wish it to. Nature elementals can grow herbs and flowers from their hair, and often smell fragrant. Elementals' vitality is linked loosely to the ambient mana around them. It is possible for a fire elemental to live and survive in a cold region. They won't die without a source of fire-aspected mana, but their physical energy and mental disposition would improve if they were to visit somewhere with fire mana around, or if they had a means to expose themselves to such mana while in the cold region for several years. Just like how people may suggest a sick person take a restful vacation in the clean countryside air, An elemental may take a trip to a place that's abundant with their element's mana, like a volcano. Okay, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. I could tick off elementals. And now for the next challenge. The animal-like people. And there will be two. Now, nature has kind of covered orcs. So basically the dreamer got together with each of these three, or four. Did I miss air? Oh, I might have missed air. 2, 3. Oh, I might have forgotten air. Oopsies. Okay, well, I'm gonna think of that while I run to the bathroom. Because I gotta go to the bathroom. Yeah, I'll be right back. Oh, you got the sentient earthworms. Okay. I've come to my solution. Air being, you know, typically seen as being loose, flexible, adaptable, in the you know, kind of like the vein of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know, going doing whatever they want, that kind of thing. I'm thinking that perhaps air did not really take part in this. I don't think they cared. They were content to just kind of watch and, you know, do their own thing. They weren't, maybe they're not quite as interested in what the other gods were up to with the dreamer in this little project. And so that is why air did not take part in this. So nature had a hand with the orcs. Fire had one of the animal-like ones, and then water had the other one. And I was thinking that for the one that fire had a hand in, I'm thinking that perhaps this was a warlike people, because I said earlier that I didn't really want the orcs to be warlike because they're already kind of often depicted as being barbarians and stuff like that. And I was thinking, alright, so what if the group that the fire god, I have to shift gears now, fire god, not fire elemental. The fire one is kind of the god of fire is a little bit more warlike, has a greater interest in glory, fighting, war, all of that kind of stuff. And so the people that they created with the dreamer are more aggressive, and the dreamer and everybody else is probably kind of fine with that, because if there was, you know, constant peace, like how could you have peace without war or in conflict or something like that? Bull? Yeah, maybe um I got distracted by the image of bull horns. And then I started thinking about Iron Bull from Dragon Age. That's a thought. Hold on, I need to put my drawing glove back on, because I'd already known that with these two groups I was probably going to have to visually noodle these out too with sketches, but yeah, nah, it's okay. No worries, because yeah. Come on. Who wouldn't want to ride the bull? Okay. Let me see. Alright. I knew that for one of these groups, one of these two groups, I had mentioned a few times how I didn't want to just simply do like, oh, cat people, oh, dog people, woohoo, or lion people. I didn't want them to look like straight up just like normal, or like what you commonly see. Let's see, where's a good picture? I guess this is as good as it's gonna get. Copy picture. I like my mattresses big and firm. Alright. This. Okay, so here are the Ronso from Final Fantasy X. They're big, they're horned. This one's kind of wearing a loincloth. But you can kind of see that, like, they kind of are not really lion people. It's loud. Okay. Let's see. Let me see if I can get one more picture. There we go. Here's a picture of Kimahri that I could use. Wearing a thong, not a loincloth. Alright, and then here's a picture of Kimahri, because you can kind of see the face a little bit. So you can kind of see that it's a bit of a feline face. But they kind of don't really look like lions. Like, they sort of, like, Kimahri definitely does, but when you're looking at these guys over here, they look a little less cat-like, and their ears are pointed, whereas Kimahri has kind of more softer, rounded ears. But then they also got the big the big horn. You know, and it was a really big deal for Kimahri's horn to be kind of broken. Feline-like, but not typical cat. Yeah. And they have, like, they are furry all over, but they do have, like, patches of extra fur, it looks like. It's been a long time since I've played this game. And yeah, then there's like the whole pointed ear versus rounder ear. And I mean, obviously, these guys are kind of more of like a tribal kind of clan type of people. And we wouldn't necessarily be doing that. Claws? Yeah, maybe. Probably claws. Because, like, alright. This is where I'd like to remind everybody that I'm an 18 plus stream. We don't want no minors here, no kiddos. But when it comes to claws, there's always that appeal of reading, you know, a book with some monsters or something. And they, you know, for the sake of your comfort, they retract their claws or they trim their claws because they don't want to hurt you, you know? Just the vet. Mwah. Lovely little appeal factor there. So I think claws are a pretty good idea. Yeah, so in terms of the animal thing, I was thinking about rather than taking one animal and being like, yep, they are this type of animal person. No trimming can hurt. Little pain is okay. Nice. I do not judge. No judgment zone here. Yeah, so I was thinking rather than one animal type, maybe I'll take a couple of different animals and combine them. Because that way I don't get in a trap of like, okay, if I don't want cats and I don't want dogs, horse people or something. And then you're kind of, well, why is it horses? Why is horse the only one that got like ascended or touched upon or whatever, made into a sapient group of people or something? What was so special about horses? That kind of thing. So rather than just one type of animal, I was thinking about maybe taking a couple different ones and sort of combining them to where you, kind of like here with the Ronso, you can sort of tell that like their primary inspiration was kind of like lion-like people, but they're not quite lions. I'm just kind of thinking right now. Also, too, they gotta be something that I can draw. My furry game is not that strong. I can get by, but my skills at drawing furries is not as powerful as I'd like it to be. Could make them diverse and group them like carnivores and herbivores. But yeah. Yeah, but kind of similar to with the elementals, I don't want to get too... I don't want to make the box too big. I'd like there to be some kind of rough structure to where you can have the variety, quite a good variety, but they all still look like they're part of the same group of people. Whereas if I have a character that looks kind of like a hamster, and then a character that looks like, oh, what's something that's drastically different? An elephant. That's gonna look pretty, that's gonna be like too big of a spectrum, I think. How did you get from a hamster to an elephant? That kind of thing. Taro lizard. Eh. My family loved Hamtaro. My little sister got hooked on Hamtaro, and like we had a Hamtaro Game Boy Advance game, I think, and then she got this little like plastic, kind of like a dollhouse kind of thing, like a ham house, and it came with a whole bunch of these little rubber Hamtaro hamster characters. I can't remember what the game was. It was like Ham Heartbreak or something like that. Heartbeat or something. You were like Cupid or something of that nature. You were helping all the other hams. Oh, Hamtaro. Good good memories. Also, we would chuck the little rubber hamsters at each other because we were kids. And then mom would suck them up in the vacuum cleaner. Oh yeah, yeah, no. Yeah, no worries. I'm vibing. As kids do. Yeah. Yeah, because they bounced. They kind of stung, but you know, they weren't like super painful or anything. Okay. Like yeah, when we moved out of that that was a upper lower unit home. And when we moved out of there, we were finding hamsters everywhere. That was funny. Let's see. Yeah, so what kind of animals do I want to pull from? Because I'm thinking that what I'm doing here with this group is what I would do for the other one as well, except the other one, because that would be the god of the water domain. That one would obviously be a bit more aquatic in nature. So I would take, kind of similar to this one, I would take like a couple of different types of like animals and then make a group of people out of it. We did not really have Legos. My brother did get a bunch of like little buildables, but he was into bionicles, I think they were called. So he had a bunch of those. Rhinos and hippos do water? Yeah, yeah. I don't know if this group would necessarily be or start off as being pretty warlike. They might, because they would be a good foil against the group created by the fire domain. So if they do kind of clash. yeah, and then perhaps they kind of watch these two groups of people go occasionally get into conflict, kind of like watching a chessboard. And maybe that could be too why the god of air was sort of like, yeah, this doesn't interest me. I originally I was thinking kind of like, oh, maybe this is how I can get my mer people. I wanted mermen, but nobody mentioned merfolk, so I was like, okay. But I think I already kind of satisfied that with the water elementals because they can breathe underwater, they can have a tail, so I think I'm kind of satisfied in that regard. I'm thinking, they probably live on the water, but not necessarily in the water. Maybe I'll do the water ones first because I'm sort of feeling like elk and deer, yeah. Zebra. Yeah, maybe I'll do the water one first because I have a loose idea forming. Silly does. Snakes. Okay, I do need to get me another picture though. Ooh, excuse me. Yawn. Actually, you know what I'll do? Oh, that looks fake. That is not what I wanted to pair with. There we go. Tile that so I can still see chat. I can see the reference that I pulled up. Okay, so I was thinking one of the critters for the water one crocodiles. The only thing is that I sort of already have the orcs with spikes and spines, so maybe they wouldn't have that, but crocodiles are just kind of cool. And they're like ancient. I wouldn't do the face like that though, because that gets really challenging to draw. But I was thinking that perhaps they have, this group of people have scales of some kind. Scale patches, perhaps, because we're not going too wild with people shapes. Crocs like the Croc Man and Suicide Squad. I haven't seen that one. I'll go look. Yeah. Yeah. Probably not. Rubber mask. Oh man, the Funko looks awful. God, I hate Funkos. Let's see, let me go ahead and get my symmetry ruler, cause it makes my life easier. That's too big. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking for scale patches, kind of similar to what you would kind of see with my dragon shifters, where it would be kind of more like patchy, not full coverage like that croc. For aesthetics rather than like realism or function. Crocs usually have bumps, not horn bits. Yeah, like little ridges. And then I was thinking perhaps they have pointed teeth. Uh, Because people sure do love their pointy teeth anime characters. So I could see some appeal with that. It would probably be buffer if you're having them war together. Yeah. Yeah, most likely. Yeah, oh yeah, don't worry about the noodle arms. This is more for just flat, generic, human-ish looking blob. Oh, let's see, what else was I considering? While they don't live in the water, they're probably still very adept swimmers for the most part. Oh, oh, an idea. An idea. I do not have a group of people yet that have a tail. Like the fireside could obviously have a tail as well, but because I was just thinking about what's the hold on. Hold on. It's kind of silly outside of like realistic context. I think this is a VTuber too, actually, now that I think about it. I'm not that knowledgeable of different VTubers who are, like, popular. Let's see, what's a good picture? Come on, give me a good picture. Well, alright, this is not that one, but this has a better view of what I'm talking about. Okay, so there's this silly concept, or at least I've always kind of thought it was kind of silly, where you got, yeah, you see this sometimes with the shark furries too, where they got a tail, like, it's just the back half of a shark for a tail. And I was just thinking, like, what if I was like, man, what if they just had, like, fish? Because I was before today, I was like, oh, what if they had some kind of dolphin influence or something? That was before today. And I was just like, what if they just had a dolphin tail? Yeah, there's some shark girl VTuber who also has this concept too. This is not a good picture, but you can see, you can see. This one is actually not as bad. It looks like more like a normal tail. This here is just like half of a shark coming out of their rear. Kind of cracks me up. But yeah, perhaps like a croc tail. And and perhaps because this might also go ahead and kind of hit the scalies a little bit. So maybe I will kind of lean more into aquatic, like amphibian lizard-like territory, and then the fire domain can kind of hit the furries. So it's gonna be war between the furries and the scalies. Yeah, no, croc tail, not croc bottom half. That would be, oh my god, that's I'm just thinking you got a person, you know, you got a person, and it's just, you know, they're just standing there, but out of the back, it's just, you got like the legs. It's like a centaur. It's like a croctar. Ooh, okay. I gotta delete that. Okay, I can't look at it. Okay, it's gone. Whew. All right. Okay. I gotta blow my nose. That was starting to make me. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm kind of digging this idea of them being kind of more like scalies. So we got crocodiles. Obviously people could probably pull from snakes if they wanted. Although having kind of more of like a snake-like tail would probably be a little weird, but they could probably still have let's see. So tail types. Let's see. Oh, I'm actually quite terrible at drawing hips from a profile angle. It's been my big weakness for like forever. Alright, here's bum. Okay, so now we don't want to just simply have like that. No. They do still need to have some kind of musculature, and like there's some back muscle coming on, or like going on here, and in between, because like you got, so here's butt, and then you got like where the cheeks split, there's like a divide in muscles right here, and you got the spine here. So really it would make it makes greater sense for tails to kind of start here before they come out here. And I've been seeing some art too. A lot of this started coming out too when Baldur's Gate 3 really took off, because people started drawing a lot more tieflings. Like there was a lot more tiefling art, and I have seen some excellent art where their tails, which are kind of more like thinner, you know, like that kind of tail, where they start out a little taper here, but you also have a taper down on the bottom side. And that is where it would be like that. Ask for free. Yeah, ask for free today. Free ass. Alligators and crocodiles are distinct species separated mainly by snout shape, tooth visibility, color, and habitat. Alligators have wide U-shaped snouts, dark gray black skin, and hide their lower teeth when closing their mouths. Crocodiles have narrower V-shaped snouts, lighter olive and tan skin, and show both upper and lower teeth when their mouths are closed. Yeah, I'm pretty bad at remembering their distinction. Also too, having the pointed teeth would give some people, you know, like if they wanted to, they would be able to have a toothy grin where they could do like this, like if they wanted to. This is a very sloppy drawn mouth. Where did the upper lip go? Barely fit an upper lip in here. But you get what I mean. So I feel like this could really like cater to the people who kind of like, you know, kind of like a little bit of tooth. And so yeah, I'm thinking, you know, the tail, probably like this. Now their tails are kind of more like, let's see. And then rather than that, like they would have to probably start off pretty narrow and then get a little chunky. And then this type is sort of similar to a type of tail you can get in Final Fantasy XIV. And then, let's see, so it'd be kind of wide and triangular, yeah. I might have. The music got a little, I could bump it a little back up now. For some reason, this playlist is like pretty loud in comparison to the classical playlist. The classical playlist I can keep closer to a 25 to a 35 volume level, but this playlist I have to keep down to a 5. I don't know what it is about. Maybe just how the volume was mixed or something. Then you can change that shape. And then this also too would give some people the option too of having more of a tail like that, where it is kind of more rounded and a tube. More like that rather than flat as the booty. In the end, I did not need this drawing. And then it would be longer than this too. Oh, I forgot to turn the mirror off. it would be much longer. We're talking like down here, longer. You know what? I really don't have time to draw a whole ass person. Oops. I turn sideways. Okay, there we go. Oh shoot. Don't do that yet. Get rid of that. Decrease. Yeah, so kind of like that. People could go longer if they wanted. Maybe they could be short and stumpy if they wanted to. The longer ones probably would get a little in the way during combat. I mean, obviously they could probably use them too to like trip up their enemies and stuff. Like tail whip attack. The perspective of this is not quite right. And then for like the what was that? How did I wind up with the perspective grid? Oh, it was the body model. That's why. Okay, and let's see. I got a scale brush somewhere. Evenish battle impediments? Yeah, maybe. This is not gonna work. That's not gonna work. That other brush was what I was thinking of. It is not good for this situation. Alright, I guess this is as good as I'll get. Just to indicate where the scale patches would be. This just makes it look very furry. Like very hairy. It's not really good. I haven't touched these brushes in forever. Yeah, it just looks like a furry person. Very hairy. I'm doing some thinking. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's get rid of that. That's a bit better. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna ruminate because we got some crocodile influences, but I feel like this isn't quite there for me. So I'm gonna lean back and think for a moment. Hmm. Yeah, I'll put some more thought into this because I feel like I have something pretty close within my grasp. I just need to tease it out into the front of my brain. But I feel like I do have something else that I could utilize. So I think I will save that for later. Let's just put that all together. I need to start thinking about what I'm going to eat for lunch. Starting to get a little peckish. Okay. Oh, I cannot see it. Doodle on it. Yeah, exactly. But as for origin, top ramen for lunch. Oh, I do have stuff to make ramen. Maybe I'll have some ramen. I'm trying to work myself up to eat. Yeah. Eventually I really need to name. Elementals can probably still remain being called elementals. I mean, that's quite literally what they are. But these guys I need to give a name to. Humans are gonna stay humans. Orcs and elves can stay. To name the eldritch people and the animal people. So for origin, the god of the fire domain and the god of the water domain became competitive. The dreamer, amused to see their two friends engage in heated competition. Warlike, warring, two warring, frequent conflict with each other. Eventually, these two peoples would mature past their initial purpose, but some of their desires to conquer in battle still persist to this day. There are two distinct originated in landlocked regions and those that originated in coastal areas. And then I could put Nature God had the orcs. And opted to focus on environmental impacts and how to work with nature rather than against it. So orcs are kind of spread out in a couple of different biomes. And but instead of like working against it and stuff, they kind of jive with their landscape and whatnot. And they tend to serve the nature domain. Obviously, one of these two groups would be serving fire domain for their average target and focus of worship, whereas the water one would target the water domain. Desert would be more browns and reds. That's a good point. I was kind of thinking of like ogres, where in JRPGs and stuff you would see like the red ogre, a blue ogre, a green ogre. Unless in Colorado where it's red. Oh, speaking of, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check real quick. Okay. I was just making sure that I didn't miss like an update on London's situation because of the fire in Colorado near her. I hope that it gets contained and she doesn't have to evacuate or anything. Along with her 70, 80 chickens. Because I'm pretty sure those would not be able to evacuate. Red would stand out in desert, easier prey. Yeah, that's scary. Scratching my back. Hurting myself. Yeah, I'll come back to that and I'll tweak it. We've been having fires around us as well, but our firefighters are used to them and respond rather quickly. Brush fires are no joke. Yeah. Yeah, in the area I live in, we don't have to worry too much about it, but we do get a bunch of... Like, if Canada is on fire, we'll get some downdrafts from them. Or whatever, downwind stuff. So... every now and then, if they're having a pretty big fire near the border, we'll get some of their smoke and ash in the air. Which is kind of wild because I live at the bottom of the state. Yeah, I think... yeah, I'll do some more thinking. I'll leave this be. And I might go ahead and wrap it up for the day because I'm starting to get kind of hungry, but I don't know... like, the ramen is going to take a little while. Yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Greatly appreciate it. It was a little bit of a surprise, like, oh, we're gonna switch over to world building today. But I'm quite pleased. Got the elementals hashed out and I feel really good about them. The animal ones I knew were going to be a little bit complicated. It was going to take me a little while to work those out. Yeah, thanks for coming. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Ooh, Anna is learning how to play Rift Breakers or something to that effect. So we're gonna go from Worldbuilding and switch on over to raid into Anna. I need to learn Rift Breakers too, like especially since Hime is going to make like a Rift Breakers world or something for the community to play in. I have Rift Breakers. I just need to actually like I need to read it and stuff and learn how to play it. I've been greatly interested in Rift Breakers as a solo game. So hey. Let's go ahead and get this set up. I feel like I need to come up with a slightly cooler raid message. But there's the raid message. And yeah, thank you everybody so much for coming. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Well, Daylight Standard Time. With Legends of Zakkariiart, but make it Final Fantasy XIV. We are going to do our best to finally pick that back up with Cheeky. And yeah, thanks so much again. And safe travels through the veil. Bye bye.